Okay, hey, welcome, welcome. I think there's one chair. We need an additional chair, I think, because I think, yeah. Thanks. Hey, it's been a long day, huh? So thanks for staying with us. But I'm really extra happy to welcome these guys to the stage. Thanks for staying with us and welcome to the concluding session of this weekend's program, which is a listening session on the Cassette Underground, which is a research project that you did, Wouter, in the context of the Media Art Fellowship, together with Imai in Düsseldorf. And if you want to, I can introduce the four of you briefly. Is it okay?
Yeah.
So,
sure.
Next to me is Wouter de Romph. Wouter is a musicologist who approaches the field from both a theoretical and practical point of view. You studied philosophy in Rotterdam, right? And also applied musicology in Utrecht, where you wrote a thesis on do-it-yourself cassette networks in the 1980s, right?
Correct.
You also work for Cloud Records, techno label based in the Netherlands, and you work also as a DJ and a radio maker. And next to Wouter is Cem Kaya. He's a director, producer, DOP editor. You studied communication design at the Metz Academy in Stuttgart. You released several documentaries. Among them are Arabesque and Remade Remix Rip-Off. You also cooperated with Forensic Architecture. And your most recent film, I guess, is Love, Deutsche Mark and Death, which is about the musical culture of migrant workers from Turkey and Germany. And next to Cem are Osdorp Tapes. So thanks for being here. Welcome also to you. Baris Akardele and Julian Potts. And you are presenting some musical sounds that are also part of the Dutch soundscape of today and that are entangled and linked to the history of migration also in the Netherlands. You collect sounds on cassette tapes, investigate the stories behind these cassettes, and you also work as DJs for Red Light Radio and several venues such as Paradiso, Salon des Amateurs, and many more. So thanks for being here, the four of you, and I hand it over to you, and I guess we will hear more about your research.
You too. I was missing Baris now, but was it you as a group?
That was
okay.
as a unity.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, as said, thanks for sticking with this, even despite the long day. As said, I did a research in Düsseldorf on the Cassette Underground, and basically tried to track the circulation and the distribution of DIY cassette music in North Rhine-Westphalia, and look at the different uses of different groups of people and how they interacted with the possibilities that the cassette allowed for with this as a convenient and cheap tool as a medium of music. One of these groups that we looked at was the circulation of and the musical life of Turkish Gastarbeiter in the area, which Cem knows a lot more about than me, so I want to give him the stage for that. He's going to do a little presentation and also talk about the film Liebe, D-Mark und Tod, which was released this year. That's my German allows for. I'm sorry. Afterwards we'll have a little discussion and we'll play some music. Baris and Julian will play some music, tell some stories, and yeah. Give Cem a warm welcome, make yourself comfortable.
Get some alcohol.
Get some alcohol, there's drinks over there.
Yeah.
So
You could do it now, before I start.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody okay?
Fine.
So much pressure.
Yeah.
My beer is there.
Where? Get a few beers and another beer, this one?
Ah, yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay. Maybe just will contextualize what we're going to see. I have two clips with me. that we're going to watch. Each of them is 10 minutes, and my last film that I made, called Love, Deutsch, Marx and Death, Liebe, D-Mark und Tod, Aschmark, Ölüm in Turkish, is about the musical industry of people from Turkey who came to Germany, and in this music industry that started in the 60s, in 1961, the first Turkish workers came here. Cologne played a huge role in setting up this music industry. And the reason for that is that the biggest Turkish music label was founded in Cologne, the biggest Turkish music label in Germany. And when I say Turkish, it's not Turkish in the sense of culturally Turkish, but as a nation, Turkey is multi-ethnical and multi-religious and also multilingual. So when I say Turkish, then I mean Türkeistämmig, people from Turkey, because there is all kinds of different cultures coming from there, and this was also represented in this music industry. So there is these Turkish labels, they were also distributing Kurdish music, for instance, but there were also Kurdish labels, for instance. I'm going to say this once, so everybody knows when I later say Turkish, it's not Turkish. So Türkü Ola was located at the Ringe. Do you know where Saturn is? The big Saturn house there in the street. There was Türkü Ola's first shop, and it was called Radio Yılmaz, because the founder of Türkü Ola, he was a businessman called Yılmaz Asırcal. Yılmaz was his name, and Radio Yılmaz was a shop where you could buy radios and how's it called? Pickups? Is it called pickup in English? Turntables. Cassette in the 60s, it wasn't invented yet, so they were selling turntables and all kinds of stuff that so-called Gastarbeiters, we don't use this word anymore because we are now post-migrants, right? Yeah. And that they would use, and this was his first shop. And then there were some local stars, so local musicians, who started to sing in the first Arbeiterwohnheime. Do you understand these words? Like the housing where the Turkish workers where they slept and where they lived. Mostly they lived in, I don't know, 4 people in one room, and this was provided by the factory they were working at, or the facility they were working at. And they came from Turkey here by train mostly. I'm talking about the first generation, and when they arrived here, it was like arriving on a really different planet, because they didn't know the language, the culture, nothing. And then there was also nothing about their culture here. You know, there was no TV shows, no radio stations, nothing. You know, they maybe brought some singles, some 7 inches from home. You know, but I mean, it was. They couldn't bring much stuff over here. So there was a huge market all of a sudden for a cultural market. And Yılmaz Asırcal, who was a clever businessman who came here in 1955 to study, he saw this market, he has this vision, and started to import music from Turkey to sell it here to people who came from Turkey here. But at the same time, in these or amongst these workers, there were musicians, and these musicians were playing in these places where they were living. And on Sundays, for instance, they would do these amateur shows. And one of these musicians was a guy called Metin Türköz, and he died recently. And he was a very funny guy, and he came out of the Aşık tradition. The Aşık is the Anatolian folk poet, let's say. So the Aşıks in Anatolia, and this is not just in Turkey, you know, in Anatolia, in Syria, in Iraq, also a lot of in the Kurdish regions. These are these folk singers or folk poets who are, in a very sense, because this is the topic of this weekend, people who are living archives, because they know all the big epic songs and also the epic stories, and they deliver it from generation to generation, and they deliver it by singing them. But at the same time, they are people who are commenting on issues that are daily stuff, like on political issues. You know, then this happened and that happened, and then the president did this, and then they would just improvise a melody and then just sing something about very current issues. And this is the Aşık tradition. And then you would have also Aşık battles, 2 Aşıks, 3 Aşıks, who sit there with their lute, and then they improvise melodies, and then you would make a rhyme like a 4 thing, how's it called? 4 bars, exactly, and then you would say something about me, about my hair, and I would say, yeah, about you with your big nose, you know, blah, blah, blah, something like this. Okay, so this is
like
the kind.
Diss battle.
Yeah, it's a diss battle. Yeah,
then
it has a lot to do with rap music, basically. No, in fact, and I'm going to refer to that later when we talk about the Turkish hip hop music in Germany, maybe, which was not only Turkish and also Kurdish, and you know. So these are these amateur aşıks, so people who would just improvise stuff or would just play in front of their families. When they came here, they would play in front of their colleagues and friends, and they would then start to, you know, comment about or sing about their lives here in Germany. And one of them was Metin Türköz, and he was from Kayseri, yeah, from Kayseri, and here he ended up in Cologne. He started to work at Ford, the car factory. And then he started to sing songs about Germany and about the life and the living conditions here. And he became so popular that this very businessman, Yılmaz Asucal, wanted to put him into a studio, and he started to record albums with him. First it was 7 inches, and they sold very well because people really liked what he was singing about, you know, and he did songs. There was this one song called Almanya Destanı, the epic of Germany, and this is all in Turkish language. And there he would say things like, so then they brought us here, and until Belgrade we didn't get any food, and then we came here and they gave us mattresses with hoy, what's that in English? With hay in it, and they said the showers are in the factory, and you know, things like that. So first minute he started bitching around, you know, which is what Aşıks do. This is their job, and this was then very popular among you know, the people living here, and so he was one of the first musicians who really sold a huge amount of records. I'm telling this because in the 70s and 80s, there was a huge music industry parallel to the German music industry here in Germany of migrant people from Turkey, and they were selling millions and millions, but they were not represented in the TV shows, for instance, or in the billboards, or in the hit parade, which is in English, what would it be? Top of the pops, the charts, exactly. So we had like Italian musicians, we had French musicians, we had Greek musicians, we had Yugoslavian musicians, we had Ibo. Do you remember Ibo, the Schlager guy? He was from Yugoslavia, ex-Yugoslavia. So we had the Greek people like Nana Mouskouri was very big in Germany, but there was no Turkish person or Kurdish person who was represented, but there was a huge market, and mostly these tapes were sold in the import-export in the Turkish import-export businesses, or at the where you could buy in the Turkish supermarkets. There would be one corner with the Turkish audio cassettes, and with the audio cassettes there was also the video business, because in the end of the 70s, when the VCR was invented, the entire Turkish film business, like cinema business, was copied on VHS, Betamax, Video 2000 tapes, and was brought to Germany. And a lot of music was distributed by these videos, because there were also a lot of concerts on these videos you could rent. And then also when the arabesque era started in the 70s, a lot of arabesque musicians, they would do 90-minute, they would do films where they would be the stars, and like in the Indian movies, they would sing like every 5 minutes. There would be a song, and then, you know, the plot would go on, and he would sing, or she. So these video cassettes were also a way to distribute the music, basically. So they go together. That's the reason I'm going to show some clips here about this video hype in the 80s. which is very much connected to the music. That's the reason why I'm showing it. So this started, and Aşık Metin Türköz became a huge star for the first generation, and then there was another musician from Cologne, and she was named Yüksel Özkasap, and her other name was the Nightingale of Cologne, Köln Bülbülü in Turkish. And she did, she was not in the Aşık tradition, but she did these songs about being torn apart and missing your family and your children, and she did songs like How Come I Ended Up in Cologne, which is a song title. And then the Köln meyhaneleri, the pubs of Cologne, you know, then Köln hapishaneleri, the jails of Cologne. She had this very famous song, I'm walking in the streets of London and cry, which is an amazing song, by the way. So she was the voice of people of this hatchmats, of this I don't have an English word for that. Heartbreaking, yeah, songs, because people were torn apart. You know, not the families came over, but women came over without their families, husbands, and also men came over. There's also this perception always that it was only men who came from Turkey, you know, but 35%. It was women, lonely women. They are not married. This was the they had to be bachelor women. It's called bachelor with women too. Yeah, single women, because they were working in the assembly lines in the factories, and it was for them much easier to come to Germany. For the men, it was much harder to come here, and they had to also wait longer. So, because we always think it's the women who came later with the families, you know, it's not. There were a lot of emancipated single women who came first here and then brought their husbands or their lovers or whatever, or they married here and founded families. So these people, this group of people who were really far away from their homes, they just needed some music for their own, and Yüksel Özkasap, she provided that kind of music, you know, this heartfelt music, and Metin Türköz, he provided the satirical music, and this duo, they basically became, for the first generation of migrants here, they were the superstars. And then this story continues, and the music changes. Then also musicians from Turkey come to Germany, and they tour in Germany, they go into the huge cities, and there are like huge concerts like in the Lanxess Arena, 20,000, 30,000 people, and these are superstars from Turkey who come here, and they have an audience here too. And so little by little, a huge market here in Germany happens to open up. And after the Anwerbestopp 1973, in 1973, Germany says, okay, it's enough, we don't want you anymore, you can go home, or at least, you know, we're not going to acquire any more people from Turkey. So in 1973, they say the gates are closed for people from non-EWG countries, which was the former EU, Europäische Wirtschaftsgemeinschaft it was called, so European Economic blah blah community. Okay. So then for many migrants who come here, because the first thinking was, oh, we come here and then we work a couple of years, we earn some money, go back and live our lives there. But after 73, and also because they were fearing that more laws like that would be passed and they couldn't, you know, come here anymore, they start to bring their families, and basically 1973 and 1974 are the years that the families come also here, and then Germany turns into a migration country, basically. Even though they always say they're not, but basically they are, and this very thing, the stopping the migration creates another kind of migration, and then the families come, and then this market, this musical market, this cultural market grows even bigger, because then you need to have musicians here. You need to you do your weddings in Germany, you do all kinds of celebrations here, you do your religious days and celebrations here. The Kurdish poor people do their Nevros here, so they need to have musicians here, and the market gets bigger and bigger even, you know. So this is for the introduction. Now I'm going to show you 10 minutes out of the film, you know, and after that we can just go into a discussion, I'd say. Yeah? Should we just... I wasn't prepared. This is the festival screener with a watermark on it, sorry for that. Here we're at this is from my actual movie, Love, Deutsch, Marx and Death, and this is the part where Yüksel Özkasap, the Nightingale of Cologne, explains us the musical industry, and we see also the Radio Yilmaz here in Cologne.
Çöker vay, bir gariplik çöker vay vay vay vay vay vay vay. Oturmuşum ben nofta, oturmuşum ben nofta, gelir geçer trenler. O tren senin vay, bu tren benim vay, say say say say say say say. Sanki gelirmiş Kars'tan, sanki gelirmiş Van'dan, sanki gelirmiş İstanbul'dan. Benim gönlüm sende libe, benim gönlüm sende libe. Roz roz roz roz rozmarin yakar sevdam beni, bir de vatan hasreti dar gelir bana Almanya. Senin saçın sarı sarı, senin gözün mavi mavi. Roz roz roz roz rozmari. Şu Almanya illeri çalışır işçileri, hem çalışır sever gönülleri. Bir gariplik çöker.
Gurbet adına çok şarkılar yapıldı. Gurbet adına çok şarkılar yapıldı. Yani çok insanlar yuvasından, çoluğundan, çocuğundan kopmak zorunda kaldı.
Ayrılamam senden. Hasretine, yokluğuna dayanamam.
İlk giden ben miyim? İlk ayrılan biz miyiz? Öyle düşünmeli. Hepsi 3 ay. Bilemedin 4, bilemedin 5.
Geldiğimde Türksel Özkasap'ı dinlerdim. Onun meşhur 2-3 tane de şarkısı vardı. Neydi o ya? Şimdi hatırlamıyorum. Çok güzeldi. Çok satardı. Gurbetçilerin hepsi, yani Almanya'dakilerin, Almanya'da, Avrupa'dakilerin çoğu bütün onu dinlerdi. Türkiye'nin Sesi Radyosu'nda devamlı çıkardı onu.
Köln bülbülü Yüksel Özkasap. Tüm dinleyicilerime teşekkür ediyorum. Her evde beni dinleyen dinleyicilerim oldu. Onların sayesinde de ben Yüksel Özkasap oldum. Bütün gurbetçi kardeşlerime saygılarımı, sevgilerimi gönderiyorum. Bütün gurbetçiler hemen hemen aynı duyguları paylaşıyorlardı birbirleriyle. Ben de içinde. Şimdi herkes ya çocuğunu bırakmış, çocuklarını bırakmış gelmiş, işte annesinden, babasından, köyünden, memleketinden ayrılmış gelmiş. Şimdi bu kasetlere dökülen şeyler, benimkiler benim özlemim. Ama aynı zamanda karşımda duran insanın aynısı. Yani bir kader beraberliği vardı.
Das ist das Radio Yılmaz in Köln.
Ben burada gurbetçinin sesi oldum. Sesin nefesiyim ben.
Und sie arbeitet auch unterm Tresen. So she's working there too, just that's her.
Biz de çok büyük bir mağaza açmıştık. Hazırlık 147. Türkiye'nin, Türkifon'un yani her şeyi yarattığı yer o firmadır. Orasıdır. Ben orada doğdum. İşte böyle kuyruk olurlardı. Şimdi inanmazsınız, inanamazsınız gerçekten. Kuyruk olurlardı. Plak ben imza atardım. Plaklarımı satıp böyle. Hepsini birden alıyorlardı. Ben Türkiye'nin köylerinde meşhur olmuş ilk sanatçıyım. Nasıl oldu bu? Köyüne izine gidecek. Benim plaklarım. Kaç tane varsa alırlar. Bir de Ayva marka pick-up alır. Biz çok pick-up sattık. Köyüne götürüyordu. Tabii orada o plaklar orada kalıyordu. Dönüyorlardı yine beni dinleyecekler. Yine gelip alıyorlardı.
Dikkat alıyoruz.
Das Yılmaz az önce.
Hazır mısınız? Alıyoruz.
Buraya bas ki duymuyorlar.
Alıyoruz. Dikkat edin. Tamam.
Plaklar 315 tane plak okudum. 48 tane kaset okudum daha sonra. Bir plağı 700 bin satan çok az sanatçı vardır. İşte biri ben, Şükran Ayab'la 1 milyon satmıştı, bir ağlayan plağı vardı.
Köln Bülbülü Yüksel Özkasap 79 yılında Cannes Film Festivali'nde 2 tane uzun çalar için altın plak almış ve 9 tane altın plak 45'liği var. Almanya'da aldı.
Yavaş yavaş şubeler açmaya başladık ama çok sonra 16 tane şubemiz vardı. Hollanda'da 3 tane. Berlin'de 3 tane mağazamız vardı. Ama sonradan sadece sanayiye geçtik daha zaman içerisinde.
Am Kölner Hansaraum ist der Sitz der Firma Turkiola. Sie ist als Produzent türkischer Musik in der Bundesrepublik einsame Branchenlieder und führt auch alle türkischen Stars in ihrem Katalog. 2/3 des Geschäfts wird übrigens mit Kassetten gemacht.
Wir produzieren seit 1968 Musik. Man kann sagen, dass jährlich ungefähr 1 Million an Musikkassetten an türkische Leute in Deutschland und in angrenzenden Ländern abgesetzt werden. Das verteilt sich auf ungefähr 500 bis 600 Künstler.
Böyle popüler olup bizde olmayan sanatçı yoktu. Bize girenler star oluyordu. Çünkü neden? Çok büyük reklam yapıyorduk.
Gazetelerde o zaman Hürriyet gazeteleri, özel bilmem gazetelerde yeni çıkan kasetleri basarlardı. Oradan tabi filanca çıkmış deyip gelirlerdi.
Resmi satış kanallarında Türkiola'nın ya da diğer Türk firmalarının işi yok orada. Mesela Türk kasetleri, Türk plakları bakkallarda, import-export dükkanlarında satılıyor. Tabii o zaman Almanlara zaten hitap etmiyor. Almanların import-export'a ya da bakkala girdiği dönemler değil o dönemler.
Evet.
Farkında bile değiller yani öyle bir şey olduğunu.
İbrahim Tatlıses çıktığı zaman bütün mahallede, dükkanımda o gün ayakta düşün. O gün bir çayımı oturup sıcak içemem. Teyze bir tane İbo, teyze bana 3 tane ver arkadaşa da. Bu 1-2 hafta net sürer. İbo satarım. Satarken de gururlanırım. Neden? Kendim de çok sevdiğim için. Ve kendim hiç kapatmadan dinlerim. Hala dinlerim eskisini yenisini. Her bir kasetini dinlediğim zaman her kasetindeki bir parçası beni bir yere götürür. Alır götürür.
Sevginin kasvetiyle bir arada ve kasette.
İyi eğlenceler sevgili izleyiciler.
Kalitede en birinci
Uzelli.
Sana koşup geldim göreyim diye, ömrümü gönlümce süreyim diye, sefamı gönlümce göreyim diye, aşkımı elimden aldın Almanya, her şeyinle inan yalansın Almanya, ömrümü benden çalansın Almanya, sevgimi benden alan Almanya, bıktım usandım senden yalan Almanya. Olay. Olay.
Çok teşekkür.
Okay.
Nice.
Questions? Keine. Maybe here. Oh, my.
Doch wo kann man den Film schauen in ganzer Länge?
Achso, der kommt jetzt im Fernsehen Ende Oktober und der lief in den Kinos, die ganze Zeit auf Mubi war zu sehen und ab Oktober ist er auf der Arte und ARD Mediatheken. Kann man gucken dann.
No questions. Just
No, but well, how was it in the Netherlands? Because they said they had 3 shops in the Netherlands.
Yeah, hi. In the Netherlands, it felt really different. Although I must say, I just established that I'm 9 years younger than you. So when I got into collecting cassettes, I was also 4 or 5. Like I started going on holidays to Turkey and just came back with piles of cassettes, and that was the only thing that I listened to the whole year. And there, we used to live in like a big building, flat. I don't know if that's an English word, right? It's a flat. And on the bottom floor there was a Turkish grocery store that also used to sell cassettes, and that was like my, for a very long time, like my only, the only place in the Netherlands that I knew in my vicinity that sold cassette tapes. But it wasn't as big in the Netherlands as it was in Germany, so most of the cassette tapes were actually either German cassette tapes or Turkish stuff that the owner of the store actually went also on a holiday in the summer to Turkey and came back with the same cassettes that I had already bought. So it was for me a very, I also always felt really cool that I already had all the cassettes that he had later than I had them. Plus, it was really, yeah, without making it very dense again. It also has a lot to do with politics. So in the Netherlands, just like here in Germany, the Turkish population consists of one big group, but they're also very different, and they have different reasons to be in the Netherlands. So some of them came for work, others came for love. Also, a lot of them came for political reasons. Were people that fled Turkey because of the government there. And they all obviously have a different background. So a lot of people that fled for political reasons had a different educational level, for example, than a lot of the people that came for work. And not to say that they're all the same, but you could say this, and that also comes with a different taste in music and different interests. And yeah, for example, in the city where I grew up, most of the people that sold music, it was very clear that they were selling, ibland dat het says,
popular music.
folk music and popular music, and not so much niche music, not so much pop music. And I was also interested in that. So for a long time, my cassette digging stuff all happened in Istanbul actually, and not so much in the Netherlands. And I think Julian also has interesting stuff to say about that.
Yeah, so my cassette digging started in a very different period, namely 6, 7 years ago. And it started basically with just a musical interest. It was just that I heard lots of beats, Moroccan beats, Turkish beats from shops, from cars, and started being fascinated by them. And at that time, there were still quite some shops where you could buy cassettes, actually. I think that has really changed the last 5, 6, 7 years, because I haven't seen it anymore. But I just started buying some and also finding some in flea markets, finding some in online marketplace, and of course when I was doing that, I had very little conception of connotations of heavy music, both musically and in lyrics. So I was just searching for musical sounds that I liked, certain synths, certain beats, certain riffs. Yeah, so that really came from that place. So I think that's so. A few months after I started doing that, we found each other as musical partners, and that was actually a kind of an interesting moment, because the things that I wanted to play to Barish were sometimes really different than what he would have collected himself. Yeah. So
Yeah, this is. I already forgot what the question was, but now I think it's nice to also explain how we got together. So I basically collect a lot of stuff. I'm a bit of a hoarder, but especially collect music. I'm also like this project, Osdorp Tapes, is it's a side project for the both of us. But I'm also a DJ of other music, so I'm collecting music all my life already. But like from the age of 4 till maybe 11, it was only Turkish music, and my dad and both my parents also. And in our household, it was only Turkish music that was being played. So I had this huge collection of tapes and also CDs, but mostly tapes, because the tapes also continued to be sold in Turkey way after the CDs got introduced, and they were always cheaper. I also actually bought like European or American hip-hop albums in Turkey on tape because it was cheaper. And I had this huge collection. It was just, at some point, I didn't listen to them anymore, and I switched to CDs and records and Spotify at some point. And then, we have different mutual friends, and one of them posted on Facebook a link to a radio show on Red Light Radio, where I was also DJing house music actually, and the show was from Medien, and he was playing Turkish music from cassette tapes, and he was playing like stuff that I grew up with, and cassette tapes that I had laying upstairs, and to me it felt really weird to have this white Dutch guy playing those, like even having access to those tapes, and amazed by the selections that he made, because he sometimes also chooses, of course, a song from a tape that's not logical if you're looking at it or listening to it from a Turkish perspective, where you know the context and you know like this tape has this hit on it from 1994, and that was the tune of the summer. Why are you not playing that? Because he doesn't know that was the song that you bought the cassette for. So that was really interesting to me, and immediately I felt like, hey, I want to support this guy and I want to give him access to my tape collection. And we met up the week after, I think, and then it turned into a collaborative project. And for me, it was super nice I didn't really have the urge before to share those tapes, but it became just a super nice thing for me to have this platform to interact with all those tapes, which of course, when we're thinking of today and the concept of an archive, that was really relevant to me, even though we try to not contextualize it and analyze it too much what we do, because we're just basically having fun and playing records. We're playing from tapes to audiences to make them dance, basically. We're just DJing with the Turkish tapes. But if you really look at it with that lens, then it is what we do. Like, we took something that was just sitting in a big box, which you could call it an archive, but it's not an archive. It's just basically a storage for crap and garbage that's just sitting there and waiting to be thrown away at some point. And suddenly it became something that we started listening to and looking at the covers, laughing at it, crying about songs that I heard again, things that take me back to summer holidays. And it was really refreshing to be able to do it with Julian, because it's really nice to notice like a song that I hated for some reason, because maybe the artist that I know that the artist is a piece of shit, or whatever his political views, or maybe I know other albums of the same artist, and I know that he became a really shitty artist afterwards, and I don't want to listen to it anymore. And suddenly I started listening to him with like fresh ears, and yeah, it was super nice to be experiencing the same tracks. Yeah, with that perspective, and listening to certain specific sounds and being amazed by the musical ideas that were in there, and the topics that were being talked about. That's the story of Osdorp Tapes.
Yeah. Maybe because you said the political, the many identities maybe therein, because maybe just a short overview about the different types of music that were available. All kinds of music from all the different over 80 regions of Turkey, for instance, was available in these shops. You could listen to folk music from the Black Sea region. You could listen also to Kurdish music. It was also sometimes really funny to see that like Türkoğlu, they were like Turkish, and the guy also had some ties to right-wing organizations, but they released political left-wing artists, and they also released Kurdish music, for instance. That's also something, you know, so business is business. I suppose that's the idea behind it. But then there were also Kurdish labels, like Kurdish labels. This is Uzelli, was a label from Frankfurt. They still exist. They are the ones who have like the best archive, like really super amazing guy, Metin Uzelli, the junior. He's continuing the business from Turkey, but they founded in Frankfurt, and Frankfurt was so important back then because this was the only the airport. So there was just one flight a week to Turkey back in the 60s, 70s, and so Frankfurt was ein Umschlagplatz, we would say in German. I don't know what this is in English, but you understand, I hope. So this is Hatay Engin, for instance. He's a queer person, and he's also in my movie. He died recently, and this is his one and only album, and he released it on 2 labels. One is Uzelli from Frankfurt, and the second one is Minareci. Minareci was in Munich, so Minareci, Türkoğlu, Cologne, Minareci, Munich, and Uzelli, Frankfurt, whatever, were the 3 big Turkish labels. But then there were others like Sönmez, Kassetçilik. This is a little label from Duisburg, and you can later maybe look in here. This is Devran Çağlar, also amazing guy he was belittled in Turkey, but he's an amazing guy, also queer artist. He died also a couple of years ago. This is Şivan Perver, the Kurdish folk singer legend living in Germany. He had to come here after the 1980 military coup, when anything that had to do with the Kurdish language and also culture was forbidden in Turkey. So there was, out of political reasons also, not because of the working migration, there was a huge Kurdish community here. So a lot of asylum seekers, also refugees, and among these refugees, a lot of artists, basically Kurdish and Turkish artists. Then we have Zehra Sabah, for instance. She is a folk singer. She sings about Germany. This is Almanya Dönüşü. When I came back from Germany, turning back from Germany. And then here we have Yüksel Özkasap, the Nightingale of Cologne in the 80s, for instance. And then I have also some records here. This is a print from the US, Songs of Freedom from Turkey, behind the iron bars. So this is directly related to the military coup, and it is by Şanar Yurdatapan and Melike Demirer. They were also left-wing singer-songwriters. They live in Frankfurt now. This is Melike Demirer. She's, maybe you know it, do you know the films of Kurdish filmmaker Yılmaz Güney? Some maybe, Yol, The Road, Yol der Weg, maybe, okay. So she plays in two of his very famous, most important films. We have, okay, this is Hatay Engin again. This is just Turkish art music. And then we have the notorious Cem Karaca. Cem Karaca is an interesting figure, because this is, by the way, these records and also the tapes, most of them are now collector's items, and they're super expensive now, because Discogs is now the platform that also defines the prices on the second-hand market. And you know, this thing is like $300. You know, it's, I mean, back then when it was released at Pläne Records. You know Pläne Records? It's a German label, first communist label, or yeah, right? Am I right?
Based in Dortmund, actually, I think.
Dortmund.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so what Cem Karaca did, Cem Karaca is an interesting figure, because, and he is also featured in my film, but I don't want to show that part now because it's too long. He came here in 78, 79, and then the coup happened, so he didn't go back, and he was a rock singer, a Turkish rock singer, and when he then was stranded here in Germany, he started a second career and started to not only sing in Turkish, but also in German. So, and then this album, the Kanaken, so the Kanaks, I don't know how to translate Kanaken into English. So it's not a good word, it's a K word. And this is entirely sung in German. There's just one Turkish song on this one. So he released this one. It was a theater project, and out of the theater project, the songs emerged, and then he did this album on Pläne. Back then, it didn't sell really well, but now it's a cult album. And then maybe, this is maybe interesting too. This is Sümeyra Çakır. She was an artist who came here also after the military coup. She was a student of Ruhi Su, a great folk singer in Turkey. She was forbidden in Turkey too. She was singing in Turkish, but working class songs or worker songs. And this is released together with Tahsin İncirci, who is still alive. And this guy, he founded something that was called in German der Türkische Arbeiterchor West-Berlin, the Turkish Workers' Choir West Berlin. So this music was played on union evenings, you know, on solidarity evenings, on demonstrations, at the 1st of May meetings, you know. This is all working class music. So this is just something that was very popular in Germany, because a lot of people had to flee from Turkey basically, and in Turkey mostly it was forbidden. And then this is somebody called Doğan Ertuğrul, Disco Delisi. He's crazy about disco. This is just popular music from the 80s. It's an amazing record, and the funny thing is it's produced in Germany, but it looks like it's produced in Turkey, but it's not. And there's this one song on it where you see that he is a Germaner, you know, second generation, because there's a song that's called Aşk International. So Aşk is love, and that's so international love, that's the song's name, but the way he spells international is German, you know, it's Aşk International, you know, really German, like Hannover German. So, this is also a collector's thing, you know, it's like, I don't know how much I paid for this one. So, and this is Islamic Force. Islamic Force, even though the name is really radical, was not so radical, but back then in the 90s, this came out in the 90s, this is one of the pioneer Turkish hip-hop groups, and they do songs about basically also freedom and identity and belonging. One of the very iconic songs is Black Hair on this one. The reality mix, it's in the film too, it's an amazing song. So what they did rap or hip hop in English and then later also in German and Turkish. And they have Alevi background. Alevi is a religion, some say it's a way of Islam or Muslim religion, some say it's not, it's a different religion, whatever. But it's very modest and nice and sweet album here. And these two records I'm going to tell later some stuff about. So the different types, political music, Alevi music, because there was a huge Alevi community here too, because they had to flee Turkey too, a lot of them, because of discrimination and political issues. And the German, now we have a new collectors market, because now a lot of cassette collectors and also vinyl collectors, they're after the German pressings, because in Germany, where the records who were produced here, and also the records from artists from Turkey who were pressed in Germany, the German releases, they were just better in quality back then, because in the 7-inch era in Turkey, they would still record on mono, and here they would be stereo, like the same 7-inch with a different cover also. And also the quality was better because they were using different vinyl material here, and they were recording at really good studios. I mean, Türküoğlu, for instance, look at the logo. I don't know, you don't see it, but the logo is basically the Ariola logo, but with Türküoğlu. You know, Ariola, Türküoğlu, you know, and they were at the Ariola studios recording this stuff. Yeah, and I was talking about video cassettes. Do you want to? No. So, okay, that's because it's too much maybe. So I have now the other clip with me about the video industry or the video cassettes. Should we watch that? But the problem is it has German subtitles. Sorry for that. I can talk a little bit or explain on top of it, because this is not out of the film. This is just clips I put together for a lecture. We just play it and then you see. Okay, so this is Almanya Acıvatan. This is a video cover of a film called Germany, Bittere Heimat, Bitter Homeland. And yeah, these are video logos from these video companies. Is there sound on this? Yeah. That's how we grew up.
Sayın seyirciler, biraz sonra izleyeceğiniz programın bütün Avrupa'da gösterme hakkı
This is a copyright warning by Minareci Video.
hiçbir şekilde kopya edilemez. Başka bir isim veya markayla satılamaz, kiraya verilemez. Aksi takdirde telif hakları kanununa göre suç teşkil eder. Minareci video kasetleri sayın yurttaşlarına iyi eğlenceler diler.
Sayın seyircilerim, sevgili gurbetçi kardeşlerim, Kalkavan Film senelerdir filmcilikte sayın halkımıza yapmış olduğu hizmetlerden dolayı büyük bir gurur duymaktadır. Bu kere Kalkavan Film aynı hizmeti sizlere evinizin köşesinde sunmak için bu filmleri Avrupa'nın en büyük stüdyolarında video kaset haline getirdi.
Bunları ben özel yaptırdım. Daha başka renkler de var. Mesela ya 17 tane şirketi satın aldım. Yani işte bütün Türkiye yıkıldı, gazeteler yazdı. Urfalı iş adamı Yeşilçam'ı satın aldı diye. Yani 17 tane şirketin yapımlarını satın aldım. Komple her sene bana film yapıyorlar. Almanya piyasası, Almanya pazarına. Sonra bunlar yetmeyince bu sefer kendimiz de prodüksiyona başladık. Kendimiz film yapmaya başladık. Güzeldi, iyi, fena değildi ama işte bu kopya işi olmasaydı daha iyi olacaktı.
Über 300.000 türkische Videokassetten sind in der Bundesrepublik im Umlauf. 35% aller türkischen Haushalte haben ein Videogerät, das sind 3-mal mehr als deutsche Haushalte. Bis zu 10 Kassetten leiht sich jede türkische Familie, die ein Videogerät hat, am Wochenende aus. Diese Videos sind meist Heimatschnulzen, nicht selten mit brutalen Inhalten oder auch kitschige Arztfilme, wie wir sie ja auch in Deutsch kennen. Und sie sind allesamt Billigproduktionen. Der Kino- und Videomarkt in der Türkei ist einer der größten der Welt.
In der Bundesrepublik und West-Berlin leben 1,6 Millionen Türken. Mit dem relativen Wohlstand, den sie hier erarbeiteten, stiegen auch, besonders im Unterhaltungsbereich, ihre kulturellen Bedürfnisse, die aber kaum Beachtung fanden. Die Angebote der Elektroindustrie, hauptsächlich in der Videotechnik, füllten dieses Defizit auf. Sie bietet ihnen einen Ersatz für ihre aus der Türkei gewohnte Unterhaltungsform, das Kino, das in der dritten Welt die dominierende Freizeitgestaltung ist.
So the introduction, it was about the video business
in
in
der
Germany.
Bundesrepublik gibt es kaum einen türkischen Haushalt, in dessen Mittelpunkt nicht Video steht. Unter den Türken ist das Videofieber ausgebrochen.
Wir schauen nur noch Video.
Seitdem wir unser Video haben, gucken wir nur noch den Wetterbericht, um zu erfahren, wann dieser Regen endlich aufhört.
Sehen Sie fern, wenn ein türkischer Film läuft? Ja, sicher. Solche Filme nehmen wir auf. Was zahlen Sie für diese Videofilme?
Diese hier zum Beispiel kosten 3 Mark pro Tag. Am nächsten Tag bringe ich sie zurück und hole mir neue.
Sie holen immer wieder neue?
Ja, sicher.
Wie viele Kassetten schauen Sie am Tag?
Im Durchschnitt 1 bis 2 Filme, da es nicht immer neue Filme gibt. Schauen Sie, dieser Film, ach du meine Süße, ist ein neuer Film. Wir verfolgen die Anzeigen und suchen immer wieder neue.
Auch wenn es 3, 4 neue Filme gibt, schauen wir sie alle am selben Tag an. Auch wenn es spät wird? Ja, manchmal auch morgens. Wo arbeiten Sie? In einer Zeitung. Wenn ich morgens nach Hause komme, etwa um 4 Uhr in der Früh, esse ich was und dabei schaue ich mir Video an.
Beim Frühstücken guckt man sich halt einen Film an.
Es ist wirklich eine Krankheit.
So it's so they're addicted to video. That's what they're saying. Basically, 3 to 5 films, sometimes a day, sometimes in a week, and they cost 3 marks.
Nutznießer
Das
dieser
Film.
Krankheit sind die vielen türkischen Videofilmverleiher,
Okay, and there you
die
see
die
the video
explosionsartig
rentals.
steigende Nachfrage geschickt befriedigen. So werden in vielen türkischen Läden Videoecken eingerichtet, sodass neben Fleischwolf und Puppen Videokassetten angeboten werden. Gleichzeitig werden in der Türkei die Lager der türkischen Filmgesellschaften leergefegt, ohne Ansprüche an die Qualität zu stellen.
So there you see,
Die
this is the
Produktion
video
kritischer
thing
Filmemacher,
corner.
wie etwa Yilmaz Güney, werden aus politischer Opportunität gegenüber der Militärjunta gemieden.
And political
Versteckt
movies,
in
they don't
bunten
show
Verpackungen
them
und
out of
von reißerischen
opportunity.
Anzeigenkampagnen begleitet,
Opportunity?
kann in der Bundesrepublik alles abgesetzt werden.
Dagegen sind sozialkritische Filme, die das türkische Kino im Ausland bekannt gemacht haben, kaum gefragt. Yilmaz Güney, der im Exil kürzlich verstorbene Filmemacher, ist nur als Schauspieler zu sehen. Der absolute Star ist Cüneyt Arkın, der mal als osmanischer Held gegen die türkischen Christen sein Schwert schwingt und mal als Karate-Macho für Law and Order sorgt.
Cüneyt Arkın is the biggest action star.
Kemal Sunal, der
And Kemal Sunal
Edition,
is the
ist mit
funny
seinen
guy.
Hollywood-Slapstick-Imitationen der Zweite auf der Beliebtheitsskala.
Okay, I think that's enough. Oh, maybe just stop it here. Here you see also, this is München Studio Passage, Studio Sonntag aus München, Studio Sunday from Munich. So this is recorded in a studio in Munich, and this is like a musical show, and this is also rented out. So, and here you see the Munich concert of Zeki Müren, who was one of the biggest Turkish stars. from 1976, this was recorded as an audio cassette, so you could just buy and listen to it. So this is the way music was also distributed here in the stores. Maybe we can just leave it also. Sure. Yeah, basically that's it. Not much more to say. Oh, maybe one little thing.
Sure.
Because some people say now maybe we should think about the history of independent labels. Because the history of independent labels in Germany starts with the label of Tonsteine Scherben, which I forgot the name of it, which is 1970 or 1971. And this is where we say, okay, these were the first independent labels who somehow emancipated themselves from the big music industry. But if you look into the history of migrant music and the labels and their independent structures, then maybe you have to rewrite that history too, because this wasn't seen before, because it didn't happen, it wasn't there, and also archive-wise, this is not archived, you know, there is no museum. I mean, the Domit now, also Cologne, they are now building up a building, and they also have some CDs and also vinyl and tapes, but this is not, compared to what's out there, you know, it's nothing. This is also something we have to think of. Next week I'm at the Bundeskunsthalle. There is an exhibition, and there we are talking about also museum stuff. And the question that I always ask is, okay, good, now we put all this stuff into a museum, but then it's again the migrant museum where we put it in, right? And then again you can, you don't need to, you're not confronted by it only if you want to, you go there, you know, it has its space and then, you know, it's locked up there. So the question would be, why isn't this considered German culture? You know, not migrant culture within Germany, but like German culture, because it was produced here, it was consumed here, the artists were living here, the businesses were founded here, so how come this is not German culture and is not considered to be archived also in the big German archives or shown in the big German museums instead of in the migrant museum? Maybe I just open up this for discussion.
Sure, or shall we listen to some tapes first?
Okay, exactly.
Want to hear some stuff?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Feel free, I'd say.
It was really hard preparing for today because we normally we play music, and this is the first time that we were also invited to sort of perhaps talk about music. So when we're thinking of like what can we then talk about, 1,000 stories came up, and I actually said to Julian, like I feel like I have now more stories prepared in my head about the music than I have actually tracks ready. Because when you play with cassettes, you also kind of prepare for a night, and you already made the decision at home what track you're going to play, because you have to forward or rewind and line it up, and you can only play that track, otherwise you'll be listening to your headphone while the night is banging. And
really
you have to,
stressing.
Yeah. And it's also not nice, it's not good for your tape deck. At almost all of our gigs, one of our tape decks actually didn't survive it because the sound quality became so bad because how we used the tape deck actually during that night, that we sometimes just leave it or throw them away afterwards. Anyway, so yeah, there's too many stories, and we kind of prepared. We had too many ways to look at the music, so we can go by years, and we can also go by our interests. Like I explained, what bounded us together at the beginning was also that fresh perspective. So looking for specific sounds that are interesting or funny or in some other way stick out, that are super emotional, or where you can clearly hear a Turkish musician and actually a whole crew of musicians and a producer, that they have a concept in mind that they want to translate into a song. For example, house music, and Euro dance music. Like there was a whole phase, and in Turkey, of course, people were also trying to imitate that. And sometimes I felt like this is such a bad song. Like this is not the Turkish music that I like, and it's also so whack compared to the Eurodance music from Europe. Away with this song, but then when you listen to it with fresh ears, it becomes nice to envision a group of Turkish people. For a lot of people in that time specifically, it was not normal to go abroad, so a lot of Turkish people never leave the country. My whole family in Turkey. I've only one cousin who has been outside of Turkey. All of the rest spent all of their holidays and all of their lives in Turkey, and there's obviously nothing wrong with that. So it's nice to envision a group of people emulating something and putting their idea of what Eurodance is into a song. So we have lots of examples of that stuff, so maybe we can listen also to some intros. That's also something that we found really interesting. So Julian sometimes came to me like, hey, this song it starts so cool, and then I would also know the song, but then I would have said, no, this song is whack, because after the intro it becomes something really shitty, and then not paying enough attention to the beauty that was already in the intro. So maybe we can listen to some of those. Yeah?
We have to rearrange a little bit here to make it into, or we stay like this. Yeah, that's it. Let's do that.
Maybe go to the other side.
Yeah. So start with an intro, maybe. Yes, ik heb hem op TikTok gestaan. Ja.
So this is Burhan Çaçan, which is one of my favorite artists. I think together with Ibrahim Tatlıses, that the woman in the video was also speaking about. Ibrahim Tatlıses was clearly the biggest star, and I think Burhan Çaçan was like number 2 right behind him.
Yep.
Anyway, it's funny that there's also, it feels like there's nothing special about these songs, but then, when I'm in Julian's head, I can see what makes it special, it's nice to be amazed by the quality and the thought that has been put in this, and it's fun to see that the songs by Ibrahim Tatlıses, for example, and also this guy, Burhan Çaçan, they were really super big stars in Turkey, and they had super big budgets. And if you listen to other people who were making the same kind of music and you compare it to what they were doing, it's such a big difference, because they had access to synthesizers and computers way earlier than all the other guys.
And good arrangeurs also, like Arif Saab did a lot of work for Ibrahim Tatlıses.
Yeah, actually we can listen to Arif Saab thing, which I also, when I was digging for tonight, I found an Arif Saab song that later also became an Ibrahim Tatlıses song.
Want to put it on this side? It's good to mention maybe that like quite often it's like covers of songs, right? Or it's like songs that have been used multiple times and you just keep coming back in different eras and genres. And
yeah. So there's lots of folk music is basically written by Ashiks or Ozans, poets basically, and also later the songs by Cem Kaya. My favorite songs by Cem Kaya were also often poems by Nazım Hikmet, which is a very famous Turkish poet. So it's the same text, but then in different versions. And Cem Karaca and Barış Manço were making obviously rock, Anadolu rock versions where they were blending Western styles with Turkish styles, but also people like Ibrahim Tatlıses and their arrangers. They were just competing with each other to make the most orchestral and most big and most sick version of it. So when they had a synthesizer, they would incorporate it, and when they have a computer, they would incorporate it. This song that I found is one of my favorite Ibrahim Tatlıses songs, and Arif Shah's playing on it. And I really like the big production of it. And then I found the same song on Arif Shah tape, and it also sounds good, but it's nice to kind of realize that hey, if you are Ibrahim Tatlıses, you have access to a super big budget, then you can elevate the song to a next level.
But maybe something about Arif Shah. So Ibrahim Tatlıses is a very famous guy who came up in the 80s, end of the 70s, and is like a superstar, and he's toxic masculinity, everything. He's a screen personality, and he got shot, I don't know, in the head 5 times and survived.
He got shot with a shotgun in his head, and he survived it.
So, and he's a businessman, and he's everything you don't want to be in this business, So he's like a hate person, but he is so good.
Yeah. He's a big kebab entrepreneur also.
Exactly.
And his son is also a big pop star now.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
The tattooed guy. But on the other hand, Arif Shah, he's a living legend. Arif Shah is in the Alevi community. Somebody who, I don't know, he is a legend, right? I mean, he did a revolution on the Bağlama, on the Turkish, the Anatolian lute, and he is in the religion of the Alevi people. He's a very famous and important guy. So this doesn't come together that Arif Shah would do, something for Ibrahim Tatlıses, and he also nowadays, denies it somehow, or maybe regrets it that he,
I do think that, like, I saw a lot of clips from them performing also on the Ibrahim Tatlıses's own television show, the Igbo show, and then when they're together, it also feels like they feel that they're not on the same page on a lot of ways, but they also respect each other's artistry a lot.
But there's footage I found from Cologne. So they were here at a Cologne concert in the 80s, and Westdeutscher Rundfunk, WDR, they recorded it, and Ibrahim Tatlıses and Arif Shah, they walk in Südstadt and go into a kebab place, and people see them and greet them, and then there's this big concert, and they even filmed Arif Shah in his hotel room, with his Sherpe, Bağlama technique and stuff. So crazy stuff what's lying around at the öffentlich-rechtlicher Rundfunk in Germany.
Yeah, let's listen first to the Arif Shah version for like a second. Let's listen to this one. Got it short. And then where have I? It's this one. Yeah. It's also a very religious Alevi song. But in this version, to me as a child at least, it sounded really boring and something that my dad would listen to, and something that I would see on the state television. There was one Turkish channel broadcasting to all of Europe, and if you didn't have like this satellite thing, then that's the only thing that would be on in the household. So at some point, of course, I was so done with this music of old Turkish band playing a balama. Like that was what would be on all the time. So to me, someone like Ibrahim Tatlıses would have way more appeal, and it sounded way more grandiose. So this is the same song actually, and also Arif Saab playing. If you don't understand the words, but to me at least it sounded super big and large, and also musically very. I'm also a musician. I make my own music, and if I listen to some of the arrangements by Ibrahim Tatlıses, there's always something in there that is like happening and draws my attention, like a weird chord or something. While the Arif Saab version, in all its beauty, is also very predictable if you know this type of music. Yeah, also another song by Ibrahim Tatlıses, which is my favorite Ibrahim Tatlıses song, and we also play it a lot as Osdorp Tapes. It's called Afkeşkem, and I think it's from '93. And I was on holiday in Turkey that summer, and we went to Şile, which is like a very small town near Istanbul, like a holiday place. And I was still a kid. And it's a super small town, so there's really actually nothing there, just like 3 restaurants, at least at that time. And also there was one, a building with and it said it was a discotheque in Turkish. And I remember that I was really amazed by this place and intrigued by this place because I was obviously too young to go there. And it was only open at night after I was already in bed. And in that year, this song by Ibrahim Tatlıses was coming out of that place, and I remember really vividly that I was, in my head it felt like that was the best place to be, and that's where I wanted to be when I was older, and I was fantasizing about really being inside there, even though knowing now it was probably just a bar dancing with maybe 6 people inside. But to me, that song really felt like a very adult song. It's about a man chasing a woman, and he's saying like, "Do you want to dance with me?" And she refuses him, and that's how the song starts. But yeah, somehow in my imagination, it was something only for grown people, and it was really about sex and stuff that I didn't have access to as a child. And yeah, that's actually one of the perfect examples of how sick this project of playing tapes in Amsterdam for like a Dutch audience is. Like, I'm playing this music, and people who don't understand the lyrics are dancing to this song that has such a big emotional value for me. And it's actually also a good song that you can actually dance to. So let's listen to that song also.
Pardon. Benimle çıkar mısın?
Hayır.
Seninle çıkabilseydim, ah keşkem, ah keşkem. Elini tutabilseydim, ah keşkem, ah keşkem. Kafelerde, diskolarda, ah keşkem, ah keşkem. Belini sarabilseydim, ah keşkem, ah keşkem. Elimde...
Yeah, I'm gonna put the volume down. Yeah, what else can we do? Do we want to more conceptualize it and go like archive ways, or are we just gonna listen to music maybe?
It's late, it's been a long day, so...
Yeah, what do you, shall we just play some music maybe? Or maybe if there are questions.
Can I ask?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm interested in this kind of course, the cassettes, and like, I mean, you were talking about it that they're kind of like you need to rewind them, and you need to have the pencil to rewind them and all this shit. And kind of, so it's, and you say you play in Amsterdam, right, for gigs?
No,
But what's the story? Like, why do you hold on to these cassettes? Because another way is possible, right?
Yeah.
So this would be interesting to hear. And then another question, which is about this music production, right? And for me, like today is a special day. It's the 9th of September, right? So like a 909 day. 909 day. Special drum machine.
Yeah.
So also, and like in other places, like where I come from, like this 70s, 80s, like this, well, like these cassettes were like big with like punk music, metal, techno was coming up, right? So this kind of like music production, and what did that look like? For instance, when they went to the studio, you mentioned like synthesizers and stuff like that. Was it part of it, or like kind of about the kind of this sort of like the instruments there and your instruments?
Yeah. So 2 questions. The
Sorry
first,
about this.
the first one was about cassettes. I also actually collect Turkish vinyl, but and sometimes I bring it along because the cassette, as you heard, the cassettes started sounding worse while I was playing the tape. So we always bring also USBs and records with us, so we have backup. And sometimes also if we play for 4 hours, it's really not doable to prepare for it with the cassette tapes only. So then at some point you just switch to digital files. But it's nice to have some context and clear boundaries also on what you're doing, because if you're going to be playing the best of all Turkish music that has ever been made, then you can dig forever, and then it would be that would be a full-time job, I guess. So it's nice to have some boundaries and only look in the collection that we have, and it's interesting to repurpose also these cassettes that we get from my own personal collection, but also the stuff that Julian finds. And also we've had instances where we played this music from cassette tapes, and there were Turkish, Dutch people in the audience who thought, oh, this is so sick. I have my cassettes at home, or my dad has his cassettes and he's not using them, and they give it to us. So it's nice to have these rules if you're a collector, to know what you're collecting and what you're doing. And yeah, what do you mean with the synths? Like in Turkey, of course, they were just also people. So when the drum computers came out, there were also people who had access to it. But as you know, they were super expensive. So it was certain studios who had the synthesizer for the first time and started experimenting with that. So I think it's a money issue, but also like style issue. So you had certain people like Barış Manço, for example, and Eyüp Akbayram, who really adopted the synthesizer as soon as it came out, and really were curious also to find out what these things could do and how they could incorporate it. I think that's actually like a big chunk of the most interesting music for my taste, is the stuff where they were doing that. And it was also a big punk and metal scene. Also, I was at some point, I think I was into metal for like 3 years, and that's also a good example of the music that you could never find, at least not in the Netherlands. Maybe in Germany, because it's such a bigger, larger group. Maybe the Turkish metal was exported to here, but in the Netherlands, if you were looking for Turkish rock music or hip hop music. That's stuff that you couldn't find. So in Istanbul there was, for example, one place, it was called Akmar Pasajı. It was like the hub of, it was like a passage, really dark, really grimy, and at the end there were some music shops that were specialized in metal and rock, but also hip hop, and like the breakdancers would hang out there, but also gothics would hang out there, and it was really famous. But also, I know that it was in the Turkish papers, and it was described as a Satanist place, and that the people that hung out there were drinking cat's blood and those kind of things. But it was just basically the place where all the metalheads were chilling. But it's like, there's a super big metal scene, and there's also a book about the metal scene in Turkey. And it's really interesting. A lot of them were also singing in Turkish and really giving their own twist on those styles.
And also punk scene and DIY scene that was large in the 90s, right? And also metal was more something that left-wing people would do, because metal is considered very conservative here. And in Turkey, because punk wasn't really existent, metal was substituting for punk. So therefore a lot of, rockers or hard rockers or metal heads, would be politically, other than in Europe, be more on the left side.
Yeah.
Speaking of styles, do we want to talk about Turkish hip hop still?
Oh, okay. Should we?
Cartel? Maybe I should play Cartel.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you should, then we talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, but for an introduction, Cartel was a group formed in Germany. So in the beginning of the 90s, when the Germanies were united, then everything has had to be German. And but in the beginning of the 80s, in 81, 82, the hip hop thing was everywhere. So kids would embrace hip hop music that was coming from overseas. And 1982 was the big breakdance craze here in Germany. We even had a breakdance show on television by Gulp, blah blah Gulp, a Swiss guy, Icy Gulp. And so that we had this in 82, and then it was not in the media anymore, but kids, and mostly working class kids, they just continued to do hip hop, and migrant kids, they embraced it, because what happened in the US with the black kids, they were just similar problems that the kids here had. And then a scene started here, and not just Turkish kids, all kinds of kids, also German kids, and all kinds of backgrounds, but mostly working class, I could say. And then they started to organize themselves in their little cities, and then in the Jugendhäuser. This was the place where hip hop music started, basically, because you needed some equipment, you needed record players, you needed some, this kind of stuff. And mostly the Turkish kids, they didn't have access to that because they didn't have any money. So that's the reason why they did mostly breakdance, because you don't need money for breakdance. And not even graffiti was their thing, because you would need cans to buy them. And I don't know whether you remember, but at Turkish migrant kids, we didn't have this concept of Taschengeld, and nobody gave us, like vinyl under the Christmas tree. We didn't have that. And you see this also in the beginning of that era, like also with Islamic Force. The DJ at Islamic Force is a Portuguese guy from, let's say, more middle-class family, because he has then also the money to buy all the vinyl that they're playing, and the rappers are the Turkish guys. And also the singer, Nelly, she's from Albania, but she speaks Turkish, because she grew up with the Turkish neighbor. So this starts, and in these different cities, in Cologne, in Frankfurt, in Berlin, in Nuremberg, in all kinds of cities, different groups and schools and scenes emerge, and they're really different also within themselves, because Nuremberg, where Karakan comes from, is really hardcore. They have a hardcore scene, and they just want to do hardcore. And in Cologne, there is microphone mafia, and then also shit, the group, I forgot the name. They're one of the most important groups because they released the first album that was the first song that was rapped entirely in Turkish. You know it, Tahi, the guy who was part of the group. Okay, I will tell you later. And Cartel comes at the end of this Turkish hip-hop thing, and they are a re-import to Turkey. That's the interesting thing. So it's a group of rappers. They're like a boy band, basically. They are 3 groups, and they put themselves together, and they call themselves Cartel, and they make this one album that you maybe could show. Cartel. And they do this one crazy song called Cartel, Bir Numara.
It's not the song that I prepared.
It's not the one you prepared? Okay. So we can rap it now. Cartel, bir numara, en büyük, cehennemden çıkan çılgın Türk. What's the name? Nereden geldi bu para?
Bindik araba.
Nereden geldi bu para? En iyisi sorma. Okay, so everybody can rap the song, right? Because it's an anthem. It's, you know, everybody knows it. And Cartel, they became very famous in Germany because they were expressing, you know, the rage of the second generation of migrant kids here, because remember the 90s, the arson attacks, you know, Solingen, Mölln, Hoyerswerda, Rostock. It was a very toxic atmosphere in Germany, and we felt it as kids. I was like 17 or 18 in that era. So there is a lot of rage, and Cartel expresses this rage, and young people, they like it. But then something else happens too. Cartel become famous in Turkey, but super famous. They have a momentum in 1993, 4 or 5, and they fill stadiums over there. It's amazing. And they introduce hip hop in Turkish language to Turkey. That's the interesting part. But there is also a lot of discussion about Cartel, because Cartel at the same time, they are very nationalistic, or they're red nationalistic, because they, as a reflex against xenophobia in Germany, often play with the Turkish flag, and they always emphasize that they're Turks and they're proud to be Turks and all these things. But in the 90s, Turkey has a war against the Kurdish people, which is a bad thing, and you shouldn't be, killing your own people, basically. And when you go then with this "we are proud to be Turks" concept back to Turkey, then you become all of a sudden very attracted to right-wing and fascist people, and that's what these kids didn't think about when they went back to Turkey and were underlining their Turkishness, and so there a lot of problems came up, because they were then accused being a racist group, when they were like defending themselves. No, we're not, this Turkishness, what we're defending is something that we're defending in Germany, not something that, we do in Turkey, but then it was done. And then when they had their stadium shows, their huge stadium shows, then the political youth from fascist parties would appear, because they just completely, there's a nice German word for it, but I forgot. Etwas? Vereinnahmt. Exactly. What's that in English?
Appropriate?
Yeah, they would appropriate the music and also Cartel, and they were then in the defense, to, saying we're not, but they were, but who knows? So I had a hard time putting Cartel into my film. Even though it was just 30 seconds, I got accused by not explaining the entire discourse about or around Cartel.
Yeah, for me also because there was no Turkish hip hop at all in the Netherlands. I think there was one rapper in the 90s, Yuki Bey, who had one song, which wasn't that much about him being Turkish, but more about him being from Amsterdam. And then now there's a big rapper called Murda, who's also very popular in Turkey. But there was no Turkish hip hop that was talking about the experience of a migrant in the Netherlands, basically. So Cartel really became something not only for Germany but for all of Europe, because maybe even the experiences weren't that much alike, but we could at least envision that they were that they were more or less the same. And it was really funny for me to buy that album and be such a big fan of the group and like the music so much in every way, and then go back to Turkey and find out that my cousins, who were teenagers back then, also really liked it, and for the first time be able to be proud that they were listening to something made by people more like me than like them, because I felt like I was closer to the people in Cartel than my nephews and cousins in Turkey were. And indeed, like you said, it was also weird. I had one cousin, I come from a pretty much left-wing family, but I had one cousin who was kind of like the black sheep of the family at that time and was rebelling against his parents, and also became a grey wolf for like a couple of years, got in trouble a lot, and he was like, he had a Turkish flag on his room and a Cartel flag next to it, and he had the Cartel sweater. So it felt really weird to me to be such a big fan of a group and to see the black sheep cousin also be a fan of it, and it also, yeah, it was weird in my head to kind of give this a place. And indeed, like you also explained, Cartel is a big group. It's made of several groups, but like the group that I liked most in there was Karakan, both on a musical level and also they were just the best rappers also from the group. Karakan means dark blood, and this song is called Kan Kardeşler, which means blood brothers. So it's really dark, and also imagine me being 10-year-old kid going through primary school basically with this on my Walkman, but like envisioning the solidarity of all the migrant kids in all of Europe fighting against racism that of course even we were facing as little kids, but in a way too aggressive way. It's really a dark song, but I really like it on all levels actually. Translate the whole language.
Shredded, right?
Yeah, it's shredded. It's the actual same tape that I was listening to in my Walkman.
That's the very same tape?
That's
Okay.
this tape. Yeah, I remember it being super fascinating also to hear their stories. Also because they were older than me, like they were the big guys that I was looking up to sort of in a fantasy way. But also like their experience in Germany and like fighting on the streets. And this song, in this song actually I just heard it, he actually says, when we said that we were proud Turks, we were called fascists. So yeah, that tension is really interesting of how you can be in a environment where you have the feeling that people are suppressing you or discriminating you, and it's very logical to then have the counter reaction of sticking together and being proud of who you are and saying that to empower yourself basically. and then in a different context, then being accused of being a fascist yourself. Not defending them, but just saying that it's that's actually maybe a good example of the exact migrant experience of where because of being a minority in a certain situation, you also maybe sometimes, especially when you're young, adopt political ideas or societal ideas that you wouldn't necessarily adopt if you were living in a society that's more friendly to you. It also really felt like they were pushed to have these emotions and have these ideas. Yeah, and I think they're all grew up to be super friendly guys also by now, most of them.
It depends on where you come from, Germany, I think, because Nuremberg, where they come from, is also a very crude place to be, and there were 1 or 2 NSU murders also in Nuremberg, and there is this Franken and Thüringen connection with, with the, it's very right-wing, and they have one little ghetto called Gostambul, I think it's Gossen something, a Turkish ghetto place where they grew up. So it always depends also how harsh your realities were, maybe, and then, the reactions to that, maybe, and yeah. But maybe Cologne wasn't that bad, even though Solingen is very close, but I mean, maybe growing up in Cologne, you had a friendlier environment, for instance, and so you didn't turn that hardcore, maybe, I don't know.
Any other questions from anyone about tapes, music, anything? Okay, then.
Shall we play one more to wrap it up?
Yeah. Maybe you can put something that you like on. Or is it too much pressure?
You only got one shot. Make it big.
What shall we do? Yeah, what comes after this?
Yeah, what comes after this?
Yeah.
Maybe something weird.
Yeah. What's the weirdest thing you have?
I once found a children's record in Turkish and German. Can't imagine how weird that was.
Yeah.
I have a really nice version of Onca Evci. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, it was nice to kind of when I re-dove into this whole topic of these cassettes. I kind of also remembered that when growing up, this is Yonca Evcimik. She's a really hot Turkish singer, like sex symbol singer. I think one of the first pop music singers in Turkey was female and really showing skin, basically, just like they were doing in Europe. So you had all these booklets with nice photos and the lyrics. And even as a child, I was already interested in to read the liner notes and like who produced it and who did what. And it was, yeah, I found it always interesting that some of these bigger cassette tapes that were doing like their own version of hip hop or house music, that they would also have foreign names in the credits. So either the producer was someone that sounded to me like he was from America or the UK, or a mixer or a master engineer. And the music industry in Turkey is super big and super good. So there's always, I'm pretty sure that there were talented and skilled people already in Turkey, but it's nice to see that they were looking for validation in another country. So the whole relationship between Turkish music and like music from the States or the UK, that's something that for some reason I was always really interested in. So this song is actually from this singer, Yonca Evcimik, and it's a version of Earth, Wind and Fire song, Fantasy, from Earth, Wind and Fire.
It's Earth, Wind and Fire.
Yeah, then a Turkish version of it, and I remember that I really liked this song, and when I looked into the liner notes now, I saw that there was no mention at all that it was a Earth, Wind & Fire cover, it says like, it gives credits to some Turkish guys, some famous Turkish producers, as like the text was written by them, and the music was written by them, and the arrangement was written by them. There's no single mention of that they got this inspiration from a song that's already existing. And it's really nice. So we play one more. Now we're in the.
Sure.
Yeah. There's one other song that's like, Our goal was also a bit like when we started this project in Amsterdam, at least there was already this whole culture of playing Turkish music in a different setting, in like a house night setting, for example, like a club night setting, like songs from Zelda or Barış Manço. Like there were a couple of artists that kind of people found through compilations or to something, and that were being played over and over again by all different people. So big DJs from the Netherlands were playing just a straight up house set and then suddenly play a Turkish song, but it would be the same Turkish song over and over again in all those DJ sets by all those people. So there was like a peak of interest into very specific type of Turkish music. And for us, it felt also really important and nice to play music from our cassettes that was not deemed as cool and was not gatekept in a way. Like this doesn't have the approval yet from a big DJ yet, but it's still good music, and it's also good music, and it also deserves to be played. If we're going to be playing Turkish music to this audience, then we should just as well play this music also. And this is one of the cassettes that also was from an artist, Kenan Doğulu, who was really a super cringe guy in my experience.
But he had a very famous father.
A famous father and a famous brother was like the top producer, and who also produced all of this album. And actually they're really, musically, really nice and on the forefront, experimenting a lot. And this song was totally under the radar for me. Like I don't remember listening much to it when I was younger, and through Osdorp Tapes we found it, and it's I think one of our top 5 best bangers.
Sen kendine hiç güvenme, 3 günlük dilber. Senin hakkından gelirim ben sevgiye. Aşklar tükettim ben, ne bayramlar gördüm. Hissediyorum sen benim için doğmuşsun.
weird presenting it in this setting with lots of sitting people. But yeah, this normally really goes off when we play it. So yeah, shall we wrap it up? Do you have any last words? Anyone?
Thanks for bearing the heat with us. It's quite hot in here. And yeah, thanks for sticking this late. I enjoyed myself.
Yes. Let's listen to some more music.
Yeah,
Yes.
play another one.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
just, we'll
Sure.
play some
It was
tunes.
amazing.
Thanks.
Woo!
Exactly, no. The dome that's coming up is like in 2 or 3 years they're going to have a huge building which is a museum and really huge computing migration. I don't know whether it's a good idea if they're a museum reorganization. They're building one in
Ach so, ja. Nee, ich meine der Mann wie. Ach so. Hallo Schnitt. Ich meine hier der Typ am DJ-Pult, so DJ-Sachen macht.
Aber das ist nicht DJ, das ist Kassettenspiel.
Ja, aber der hat gerade irgendwelche Regler gedreht.